Hi, family. How's everyone doing? Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about prayer, but most especially praying in mysteries. Okay, and then kind of give you tips about how to be fervent in prayer. Who's ready? Let's go. I'm excited. You guys know I'm always excited, but I'm excited. Okay. So we all have an idea of what prayer is, right? Like we know prayer is like talking and just like going to God in prayer, right? We know that part. So, as I tell my FWF kids, due to the first sin, which is Adam and Eve eating the fruit and all of that, and all the consequences that kind of trickle down from the first sin, they chased us out of the garden. We no longer have that one-on-one koinonia with God anymore, right? So, prayer is a means where we can come and fellowship with God. That literally is what prayer is, right? So according to Philippians 4:6, it says, "Do not be anxious for anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." So we know that prayer is also a means for us to make our requests known to God. I know now that I've said that one, everybody here is standing at attention because that's the one that everybody like. But in my elder sister's words, she said, it should not be only a means for you to collect from God. Sometimes forget about the fringe benefits and just pray. So then the question becomes, what are we supposed to pray about? But before we go there, I want us to look at Luke 18:1. Luke 18:1 says, "Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they always ought to pray and not to give up." Literally, Jesus is telling us, it's not a commandment necessarily, but you are being told to do something, right? It's not like if you don't do it, you will die. But if you don't do it, then you're being disobedient, right? So Jesus has said, men ought to pray and not to faint, right? So we already have that down. We know what prayer is. We know that we are asked to pray, right? Now, so the question remains, what should we be praying about? Firstly, we should be interceding for other people because that is like the most important part of prayer. Not the most important, like it's important in prayer for you to intercede for others. Like you just never know what another person is going through. I don't know. Right now, sometimes I'll be praying for other people more than I'm being praying for myself, but that's besides the point. But in Matthew 6, the answer, everything is in the Bible, y'all. Matthew 6:9-10 says, "This is how then you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." So this is what we should be praying about, for God's will, for his kingdom to come and for his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's what we should be praying about, right? So then you say, how do I pray? Right? Romans 8:26 says, "In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us through wordless groans." Verse 27 goes on to say, "And he who searches our heart knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance with the will of God." Remember Matthew. Matthew said we're praying for his will to be done on earth. And the only way for us to pray for his will to be done on earth is if we let the Spirit intercede for us. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So let's recap. Let's recap real quick what we have learned so far. 1, we have learned the importance of prayer. 2, we have learned, above everything else, we need to intercede for people and pray that God's will be done. So yes, you're praying your own supplications, of course. Like that's why that line says with thanksgiving. So we're praying the prayer of thanksgiving. We're praying for other people. We're praying for the will of God to come. And then you're making your petitions known. So that's the 4 part of prayer, right? So we got that down. And then forgiveness. But that's not what this is about. But we got that down. So far we have learned the importance of prayer. We have learned what we should be praying about. And we have learned how we should be praying. the best way to pray so we're not praying amiss is to pray in mysteries, which is to pray in tongues. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so I'm done. I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of their week. Okay? Bye, yeah.